Welcome to the Marble Sports Worldwide Podcast, where we discuss and analyze your favorite marble sports. From JMR Marble League to I'll Go Do tournaments, we'll make sure you never miss the action. All marble sports, all the time, right here on the MSW Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Marble Sports Worldwide Podcast. I don't know why I do that. My name is Brendan.
And I'm Commander Wof.
And Marbula 1 has begun. That is an exciting new development within the world of marble sports. Season 2 of Marbula 1, and it's already gotten off to a great start. A lot of talking points today, okay? I don't even know if we're going to get through them all today, because I'm going to be talking about qualifiers. I'm going to be talking about savage speeders and that mess that happened during the race that I have a lot of annoyed comments about. Fantasy teams, I mean, it goes on, and we got a guest for y'all today. So it's just a very busy episode. So sit back, relax, and you'll hear all your Marbula 1 analysis. Wof, you wanted to say something in the intro, something important.
Yes. So, if everything goes according to plan and we get the episode on time, which is on Thursday, it'll be my birthday that this episode comes out. So I'll be turning 23, and
that's old.
To kind of and to celebrate that, like, we have a very special outro. So if you are one of the people who like once they hear like the outro like starting, like you could leave, just stay tuned till the end. I think you'll want to hear this one, but I'll address that more once we get to it.
Yep. But, don't turn the episode off until the last sound has played, and I think Wof has something special planned for the outro song. He's probably going to sing something of interesting for us. So anyways, so that's going to be interesting. Happy birthday to Wof. If this does come out right on Thursday, then yes, a big happy birthday to Wof, who's turning 23, guys. That is old. He's 5 years older than me. I never realized that, but he is. I'm only 18, and he's going to be 23. So he's 5. That's 23 minus 18. It's probably 5, right?
Well, it's probably not 5. It's probably maybe like 4 in a few months,
4.5, we'll say, because I'm May, so that's about half.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, so 4.5 years. That's a lot of years. He's had a lot more rolling experience. But
I've rolled a few times around the block.
You rolled a few times there. Rolled a couple extra years. I mean, you still bet on Momo, which is beyond my understanding. But you know what? We'll get into that, because they
we'll get into that, definitely.
Johnny Marble's got another exciting new segment. I'm hoping he wishes Wof a happy birthday in this new segment. I don't know. Is he going to, Wof?
I mean, he might. He does know that it is, so he might put that in. I don't know.
I could see him just being like, "Hello, Marble Wof fans! Happy birthday to Wof," or whatever. I don't know. I can't even do his voice, so that was just a waste of 5 seconds on the show. But anyway, let's go to the news with Johnny Marble, and we'll see you on the other side with just a million different topics we need to push through here for Marbula 1.
Hello, Marble Sports fans! I am Johnny Marble, and as always, I'm coming to you for MSW. Let's get right into it. The final race of Season 1 of the Racing Marbles League, the Marble Speedway, was an incredibly diverse track that made for exciting racing. It had 21 quarters, 2 marble boosters, a glass platform, a high bank turns, circular track, and more to add to it. This race also featured the most dominant performance thus far, with GOAT holding the lead by dozens of marbles lengths for most of the race. Crimson Lady, though, did a great job trying to catch up on the final lap, but she wasn't able to stop Goat from taking first, leaving her with second and T-Bot with third. And now for the overall results. Going into this race, Crimson Lady had already secured her victory just by qualifying for the race, so the real battle was for the 2 remaining podium positions. They fought long and hard, and through their dominant performance in this race, Goat took home the silver, while T-Bot claimed the bronze by only 2 points in a close battle with Panda. Congratulations to these 2 incredible athletes, and we look forward to seeing them again in Season 2. And for our final piece of news, we have the premiere of Marbula 1 Season 2 at the Minty Mania GP. This race was a real roller coaster of emotions, with excitement and drama in equal measure. From the get-go, things were getting interesting as Yellow Eye took an early lead, and Momo went from 11th to 4th. Heading into lap 6, Speedy came out and banked a turn so quickly that they were ricocheted off the top conveyor belt and got stuck behind the guide as they were repeatedly pummeled by the gears. The paramedics were quick to act and got Speedy out of there, but they unfortunately had to retire due to their injuries. We here at the MSW wish them the best and that they may make a swift recovery. The race restarted on lap 6 and continued without further incident. Momo came very close to taking the first place position from Yellow Eye, but they managed to grow their lead even further than before. By the final lap, Yellow Eye had secured a dominant first place finish, followed by Momo, who got both second place and the fastest lap time to add to it. Mallard did take third though. And while they may not have made it onto the podium, Snowy from the Snowballs was at the very back of the pack at one point, but still managed to fight their way into 5th place. So congratulations to them on such an incredible performance. Well guys, that's all the news I have for you this week, but wait, we're not done yet. As of recording this, it is a day before
Woof's
birthday. So let's wish him a happy birthday. You gotta say it with me now, or else it's gonna be awkward. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday!
Commander Wof.
There we go. Wished him happy birthday, and hey, we got the news out of the way. We're 2 for 2. Well guys, I have been Johnny Marble. You have been the best fans in the world. Let's take it back and continue on with the podcast. Thanks for listening.
All right, everybody, welcome back from the news. Thank you, Johnny Marble, for bringing us through this week's news, which is quite busy as we jump into Season 2 of Marbula 1. I can't believe it's finally started, but it's here. And yes, we've had a lot of Marbula 1 type of racing this year. We had Season 1, we had Marbula E, we had the ridiculous ending to the 2020 Marble League with the Marble Marathon
still on that, aren't we?
instead of the Sand Marble Rally. I really am upset about that. I do not like that decision. If Mel does come on here, I am going to ask them why they did it. I'll be nice about it, but I'm not happy. It's not how I want a Marble League to ever end. I just don't like it. But with that event aside, we have, I love Marbula 1, and I'm glad that we have Season 2 coming at us, and it's already exciting. But before we jump into that, let's introduce our guests for today. We have Steve from Latvia, as he goes by on Discord, with us today. Say hello to the world of Marble Sports, Steve.
What's up, people? I am, again, happy to be back. I'm always glad to come on this show, and yeah, I'm ready to discuss this because I'm hyped for this season. First race, and I'm hyped. So hyped. I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yes, I'm excited to talk about it too. There's so much happened.
Oh, dude,
yeah.
It's Marbula 1 and Formula 1. Like, it's a perfect weekend package for me. So yeah, is
Formula 1 going on right now? Is it going on right now?
Oh, dude, like, Formula 1 is still going. It's gonna end in December. But still, it's got Marbula 1 this week and Formula 1 this week. So I'm ready. Let's do this.
No, yeah. So you got a lot of racing going on, and racing. Yep. I love racing. I think that, a lot of people don't get into racing, but I think that's just because they never tried it. Once you watch your first race, and you get the suspense of the race suspense, and it's just you can't look away, So yeah, I'm glad you got a lot of racing going on. I don't watch Formula 1 myself, but Marbula 1 certainly satisfies it for me. So. we have a ton of topics to talk about today, and we're gonna talk about the qualifiers. I have a lot to say about the qualifiers, the change in qualifiers this year, and what I think about qualifiers, and we will discuss that. But I want to start by just getting out our fantasy statuses. I just think it's good to start like that, so you guys can just kind of follow along with us over the course of the next few weeks how we're doing in fantasy. So. We'll start with Steve, since he's our guest. Steve, you want to tell us how your fantasy did, what you were surprised about, things like that?
Yeah, my fantasy team, by the way, my fantasy team's name is the Steamrollers Marbula 1 Racing Team. And,
nice.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm not off to the best start because for starters, Minty Maniacs, which is ×2, and Cobalts didn't qualify, so... That's 2 out of
Wait, you put Minty Maniacs as ×2?
Well, they got third place in the Marble League. How can I not?
But that's different. Oh no, dude. Oh, okay. Well, maybe they'll do better in a future race. But
I hope so.
I mean, the one race in the Marble Marathon, as opposed to looking at other teams. Like for example, you look at the top 10. From and this is how I picked, except for the Crazy Cat's Eyes, which I threw in there because they're a veteran team and I really like them. I looked at the top 7 teams from season 1, okay, and I was like, okay, we don't have a lot of Marbula 1 data. We only have one season, plus of course the one race from the Marble League. So all I can go off of, the only teams I can really make an argument for are the ones that did well in season 1. So I had to pick a bunch of them from the top 7 because there wasn't any other way to choose. Mini Maniacs, I mean, they're not a bad team, and I think they might do better if they cannot mess up the qualifying. But yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest. I think the smartest picks were picking from the successful teams from the first season. But anyway, continue on, Steve. Talk to us about your points.
And let's see, Rangers, which I picked as my number 1 pick because, well, obviously pretty much everyone knows why I picked all Rangers as my ×3. But so I have 2 teams scoring. Green Ducks 16 points, Hazers 2 points, and my total is 18 points.
Wow, so where are you overall right now?
And overall, I'm in 187th place.
Yikes.
Okay, well, you got some work to do. Yikes, but you got some qualifying to do. Man, but hey, you know what? You can start in 187 and end up in 1 if you have the right.
I will bounce back. I'm 100% sure I will bounce back from this.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, O'Rangers is never a bad pick. All right? It's never a bad pick. You can't go wrong there. But it's going to be, what O'Rangers are we seeing this year? Are we seeing O'Rangers that wants to dominate the competition? Are we seeing O'Rangers that just is mediocre? Like, we're going to end up middle of the pack. Because O'Rangers are probably not going to finish below 10th. They just don't do that. But a 7th place O'Rangers is not going to give you nearly as many points as a first place. So, I don't know what O'Rangers were getting this year from the first race. It's not looking good. But I think that we can't really judge the outcomes of these teams based on only one race. Because, Mini Maniacs, they struggled in race 1. They could turn around and get first place the next 7 races. I mean, it is true. We can't judge yet. But we do have some initial impressions. Wof, why don't you talk about your fantasy for a moment?
Oh boy, I've never done so good before.
No, surprise. When I saw Momo doing well, I was like, damn, Wof gonna be a happy Wof today.
So Momo is my ×3 multiplier, and that got me 63 points. Raspberry Racers was my 2 times multiplier, got me 20. I unfortunately picked Savage Speeders and Minty Maniacs as well, so they got 0 for those. Mm-hmm. But I did pick Cat's Eyes, which got me 25.
Oh wow, so you had the Cat's Eyes in there too. Good job.
Yeah. I'm realizing that I should have picked one of the snowballs. Like, they're really good too, but it's too late now. But one thing that I really noticed was So at the end I got 108 points, which puts me at 5th.
Yeah, I know. So, you're 5th overall right now. Like, when you pull up the little standings, you're like some of the first names you see. It's nice. Like, I've never seen the Wof pack be so successful as coming out of the first race picking Momo. I mean, you picked Momo in the Mini Maniacs. I mean, how are you succeeding right now? But you are. So, That is a positive thing. And yeah, I gotta be honest. I'm very surprised that Momo came out so strong. I really did not expect that. But like, what was it? About halfway through, all of a sudden, he's up into the second place, third place, and he's making moves.
It was mostly through, like, all throughout. Like at the start of the race, they went from 11th to 4th, and then the accident happened, so they restarted. Then they kind of fell back. I think back to 6th. Then they pushed their way back up and all the way up to 2nd.
No, yeah, and then they were the only marble that really had a valid opportunity to take the lead from Yellow Eye. Of course, no marble did, but that was the only marble even got close. Third place was quite a bit lower than Momo, and who was also substantially lower than Yellow Eye. Yellow Eye was way out in front, did not look back the whole time. All right, I'll talk a bit about my fantasy. All right. So I had 79 points. Not bad. I'm sitting in about 22nd place, 20th place. I'll go show you on the list in a second. Remember, if you're watching the show on the YouTube, you can go check out visually what I have up on the screen on Chrome. And right now I have the fantasy up there. You can see the numbers. I got a ×3 multiplier for the Snowballs. I picked up 36 points. That is about what I expected from the Snowballs. They're not a top 1 team. They're not a bottom 7 team. They're a good team, and they're probably going to have a few good races. I think that they could be podium this year. We'll just have to see how the teammate for Snowballs do. And do not forget, if you watch the race, Snowy was down in like 14th place or 13th place for a while, and all of a sudden, about halfway through the race, a slow climb started. A slow climb, a successful slow climb that only a veteran team, only a strong, skilled team can make. From 14th all the way to 5th. Even popped into 4th for a second, I think. It was up there, and it started, Snowy started quite low. So, I mean, that kind of ability to go from the back to the front like that in a slow, steady climb towards the second half of the race, that to me is an impressive move that makes the Snowballs. I'm happy that I picked them for my ×3.
Which is quite funny because Snowballs were one of the teams I picked that will be eliminated.
Yeah, I know you did that, and they almost did. They almost struggled in the qualifying and did get eliminated.
You almost had to pay me $10.
Yeah, I almost had to. Oh yeah, yeah. I bet Steve that if because I didn't think the Snowballs could ever not qualify, so I said if the Snowballs didn't qualify, I would give them $10, and they almost didn't. They actually were only a few spots away, but they got in there. And see, that's the thing. They started low. They started out from a struggling perspective from the qualifiers, turned upstream, and all of a sudden they were in 5th by the end of the race. And that to me is the sign of a skilled Marbula 1 team, one worth picking for your ×3 multiplier. Savage Speeders, on the other hand, got 0 points. I had them in the ×2. I'm going to. They were doing well. They were up in the front. They struggled, of course, at the conveyor belt, and I think they can turn things around, of course, in the next 7 races. I'm not expecting to see like many times Savage Speeders coming up with 0 points. I mean, they will qualify every race. There is just no way that the Savage Speeders, unless they have a clear track failure and they just like stop movement in the qualifying, they're just fast marbles. So I think that the chances of them rolling into the conveyor belt weirdly like that, and that 1 in a million type of situation is low. So I'm positive about them in the future races, and I don't want to see that again. And we'll talk about the Savage Speeder situation later. Hazers for me was 2 points. They were not good today. They qualified but didn't do very well. Crazy Cat's Eyes was 25, and Green Ducks was 16. 2 teams that I expected to do okay, but wow, they came out strong. I'm glad I picked them for my team. So again, 79 points. I ended with, I'm 22nd. I'm tied for 20th, actually, with JV Hazard and Catch These Paws. So 2 other, I guess, good teams. So yeah. That's where I'm at. I'm happy. And I'm going to tell you why I'm really happy about my fantasy. Very happy about my fantasy. Because in my fantasy, I'm in 22nd place, which is not a bad place to be first race in the fantasy. And this was considering that the Savage Speeders and Hazers together, the best two teams in Marbula 1 in Season 1, only allotted me 2 total points. So I think that, all the Savage Speeders and Hazers have to do mediocre, and then the other teams on my list have to do as well as they've been doing, and then all of a sudden I'm getting a ton of points every week. So definitely I'm happy where my fantasy team, the potential in my fantasy team, a lot more than Santa Barbara Rally, which I don't think it will be. That fantasy team is not as strong as this one. But yeah, we'll have to see where it goes. So there's all our fantasies, guys. So we'll have to jump into our first topic. I really want to talk about this. We're going to talk about the race, but I really want to talk about the Savage Speeders moment.
Yeah.
And we'll start with Steve here, our guest. Steve, I want you to talk about when that happened. Do you think that it should have been handled differently? Because it seemed to me like it was a conveyor belt failure, which begs the question, if it's a failure of the track, I know they have rules where you can't just have the teammate marble come in and race for him, but I feel like there should have been some consolation or compensation to Speedy for that seeming failure of the belt. What do you think about that?
Well, obviously, these are two completely different competitions because, Marble League and Marbula 1 are two completely different competitions, but I do believe they should have done the same thing they did in our Marble League, given 1 or 2 consolation points because, it was obviously an accident, a really terrible accident between, I think, who was it, Rosby Racers, who they run into. They collided with them because of them, Speedy ended up in a conveyor belt. But
I thought they just ricocheted off the conveyor belt itself. That's what it looked like to me. We can't see. They go briefly off camera before they launch off, so it's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they just hit the conveyor belt. Like they came out of that turn way too fast, and they just bounced over.
I don't know. I'll have to take a look at the race replay later.
We can. Brendan, you can pull it up right now, and we can go frame by frame.
I totally forgot that I can do that. We will actually pull it up. Where would it happen? Does anyone remember around?
About 6 minutes in.
I think it was lap 5 or.
It was lap 5. Yes, it was lap 5.
So we're actually gonna pull it up here on the YouTube, guys, so we can take a look. And while we're waiting for it to come up, I'm in lap 5 here. I'm just gonna wait for it to happen. I want to say this about it. You could argue both sides, that it's Speedy's fault for ricocheting off the conveyor belt and coming into it too fast. You could argue that it's not Speedy's fault. That the way the structures on the conveyor belt are made, wherever you land on that belt, it should be able to bring you up the track. But I think that
I can't call this Speedy's fault because, in my opinion, that was a horrible accident and pretty much some kind of, conveyor belt, not conveyor belt, I can't find the word. Something went wrong, with the conveyor belt, and he ended up there.
Yeah, I'm looking here. I'm hoping to get a replay, though we might have to go frame by frame through the fast thing. It seemed like, if you take a look here, I'm going to stop at the picture here. You can see that there's 2 kind of paper dividers that kind of feed the marbles into the middle of the conveyor belt and kind of keep them from ending up at the outside. The problem is the very outside of the conveyor belt is not structured correctly to be able to actually bring marbles up the track. So when Speedy got stuck here on the right side of that wall, he came up the conveyor belt and then moved to the right and fell down along almost the railing of the conveyor belt into that divot. The gears or whatever the mechanisms that were there were not good enough, or were not created with the purpose to bring marbles up. They were created to hold the mechanisms in the middle that bring marbles up, and so he wasn't able to move up the conveyor belt. My problem with that is that he still is on the conveyor belt, and honestly, in my opinion, should have been either put back into the race and started from lap 5. Or there should have been just some sort of compensation. Like, we made a mistake out there on the conveyor belt. It's a mechanical failure. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. And we're gonna give you 5 points just to make up for it.
Absolutely.
Something just to say that we as JMR or whatever acknowledge that it was a mistake by the belt.
Exactly. It was a mechanical fail. It was kind of like, with Rangers back in 2019 when they got stuck in a funnel race, but they got consolation points. So if Oranges got consolation points because of a failure, why can't Savage Speeders get some consolation points because of a mechanical failure?
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
yeah. That's what I'm bringing. So, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Go Rangers got their consolation points in the next event. Like they didn't like they only added them after the fact. So the Savage Speeders could still get consolation points. They've done that before. If like after like the audience response like and listen to audience opinion, like they would like if they determine that they should have given consolation points, they will add them in after the fact. So the Savage Speeders can still get something.
Yeah.
Another thing. So to guess like. The most important thing is that Speedy's health. JMR did report that he is doing well and only suffered minor injuries and should be back to racing in race 3.
Which is very glad to hear that because I would never. Okay, yeah, they are our Orange's biggest rivals, but stuff like this is a lot bigger than a rivalry, and I don't want see any of my competitors, to get taken out in a horrible injury. I just want that competitors beat each other in a fair fight.
Yeah. But that brings me to the next thing. So, like, coming out of the role play for a second here, it's kind of another instance of, like, how far do you want to take, like, how much, what's more important to you, role play or the race itself? Like, because, like, in role playing it, like, it makes natural sense that Speedy be taken out of the race, because, like, he was in there for quite a while. You would be definitely injured, and so a real athlete would definitely have to retire from the event. But in a marble race, like that stuff more likely did not do anything to him, and so he could feasibly still race. So it's like one of those instances where like on the one hand, like doing this role play makes it feel, I guess, more like they're athletes, and it can kind of draw you into the story of Marbula 1 and these teams. Yeah. But on the drawback of that is that it then the Savage Speeders just completely lost a chance to get a whole lot of points.
Oh, there it is right there. Sorry, I finally found it in the slow-mo on the race.
Yeah.
And so I'll take another look at it here. I went frame by frame here. We're going to let it roll up again. If you look to the left side, if you're watching on the YouTube, I'll help you out. It's about, if you go to the race, it's about 2 minutes, 58 seconds in, 59 seconds. You'll see it on the right, the left side of your screen when the camera flicks over towards the belt. You'll see Speedy coming up. He's on the right side. He moves back towards the left. He comes up the conveyor belt on the left side, rolls around it looks like, and then he ends up down there. And so, okay, couple things I want to address. First of all, yes, Wof, I agree that depending on how you view marble sports, depends on how this decision will be made. If you really want the marble sports to be simulated as if humans were doing it, yes, if a human gets caught in a mechanism, there's no way he's continuing the race. But if you view it as like, okay, we want to have that role play aspect, but we also want to keep the races sensible. Obviously Speedy wasn't actually injured. Speedy is still the same marble as he was before. So that's where it gets a really difficult question. How far do you want to maintain that role play? Do you want to really actually pretend something that is there that's not there? Or do you want to make sure that people who, there's got to be over 100 people who pick Savage Speeders for their fantasy team, they're all pretty upset right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't even give them consolation points, I mean, I understand him taking them out, but I mean, come on, this is marble sports. The marble is fine. You should give some compensation points.
Mm-hmm. I also heard some people saying that maybe like at least they would be okay if he was like put to start at the very back of the pack. Like,
that would have been fair too, just to kind of, because they had to restart in lap 5, throw them at the back, be like, this is your slap on the wrist for not rolling very well, and don't make the mistake again.
I guess that actually kind of explains why it would be a bad idea. Like, it kind of looks wrong. Like, oh, you actually fell into an accident with the conveyor belt that is, quote unquote, the Minty Maniac's fault for not designing it properly, and like, and you got hurt, but now we're gonna punish you for it instead. It's like,
well, I mean, they're punishing him even more by not letting him race.
I get it, but at least in roleplay, it's because it's for his health. In this one.
All right. I mean, but see, that's the thing, and the argument gets more difficult because if you look at the footage here, you could make an argument for either side, whether it was Speedy's or a mechanical failure. I honestly think it was a mechanical failure. But Speedy rolled up on the left side and moved all the way around and fell down the right side. You could say that was just a complete lack of control,
right?
And not a very veteran race move to lose so much control coming in the conveyor belt. So you could make that argument. And I think that if this argument really became a big thing, there'd be people arguing both of those sides. There would be people coming out of Speedy's fault or not and arguing the sides of, Marble Sports roleplay, Marble Sports sensibility, where are we going here? And that's a big argument. There's huge arguments, and we're arguing over something that may or may not have even had an effect on the rest of the race. So, I mean, I think that just because this is such a small part of a much larger event, the decision on this, it's fine. I honestly think I would have been happy with like 3 consolation points just to accommodate, and then leave it at that. But I mean, honestly, it's a very difficult subject to go back and forth on.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: we don't even know what the JMRC has decided. Maybe they will give the Savage Speeders 3 consolation points at the beginning of next race.
Right.
That would be nice. They're probably going to talk about this week, and then, I mean, if I was part of the JMRC, I where my vote would go on that. But like the difficult thing about this in general is that arguments can be validly made for every side of this. So it's really hard to come to a decision on this, and the JMRC and JMR really has to be like, what are we gonna decide is the case? Because either way you decide, you're kind of compromising something. You're either compromising sensibility or role play, or you're making assumptions in some way. What are we going to just compromise just so we can have a set rule on what happens when this happens? Because honestly, they're kind of been situational on this kind of stuff. They're kind of like, sometimes they give points, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they restart the race with the new marble, sometimes they don't. I mean they kind of go case by case, but that can get very confusing for viewers who see two situations that look quite similar happen, but then 2 different outcomes, and what's decided will be the result of what happens to that marble who experienced that difficulty. So I mean, I don't know. I can only give you what I think on it.
Well, Enzo on Discord made a really good point. In a real fiction, marbles are racers, and this could explain the Savage Speeders team, retirement to prevent the health for the racer.
Right. Yeah. And we discussed that, but for the addressing the conveyor belt itself, I think that's important. Like, to prevent that from happening, there are 2 ways to address it, or I guess 3 actually. But so the first one is like putting a rectangular piece of plastic over it. But the problem is that with that, the Savage Speeders, if they would have hit that instead, and then just would have flown off the track. So at that point, then Savage Speeders would have just been DNF'd completely. Oh. So a better way to stop that from happening is putting a slightly slanted piece that kind of goes up, so that way that goes over it. That way, if they land on it, they roll back onto the track. But I think the safest thing.
JMRC did make a statement after the race that they will be working for the future races to find solutions. Some kind of solution to extend or work on those borders that separate the whole.
I mean, it is an easy solution, like you said, a slanted piece or some sort of wood, hard piece.
They said they will be working on it. They are working on it from what
and also. Heard. If you go by the next lap, I think they actually added an extended divider up the ramp, not necessarily over the whole, to kind of to help prevent it from happening. But I don't think that would have saved the Savage Speeders in this instance. But and then the other solution is to replace the elevator with a launcher, which in my opinion would say it would be better because it would it would not slow down the momentum of marbles, so it would keep the spacing fair, and so and that way you don't get the elevator allows marbles to have more chances to catch up because it keeps them in specifically divided spaces going up.
Right, and it gives advantage to faster marbles who enter the marble booster or whatever you want to call it faster, and it gives because what happens with the elevator that really I don't like, and I'm really I understand from Marbula 1 Season 2 that it may have been too quick to really get that marble booster going. But for Season 3, I don't expect it, but I want it. The elevator does an annoying thing to the racing, and causes it causes marbles to, of course, of any speed, because obviously marbles are going to come into the elevator at varying speeds. There might even be a double difference. A marble might come in 2 times as fast as a different one, and if they hit the elevator at the same time, and one marble is twice as fast, I mean they're both going down to 0 speed, and then they come out the same. So the marble who's going twice as fast is not rewarded at all for being faster. So that's I'm not going to say that these races in Marbula 1 first couple of seasons are immaterial and don't actually reflect the skill of the marbles. I'm not going to say that. I think they do. But I think that it's going to be more... you're going to have more interesting races that really show which marbles are better at carrying the momentum and the endurance and not. If you have a marble booster that kind of gives an advantage to marbles who enter it faster. So that's something I hope to see. Yeah. But of course... that is also a decision JMR has to make, because the track design and kind of form of the racing and just overall aesthetic is going to change a little bit if you add the marble booster. So, and that's, of course, probably an argument that also is a 50-50 take, depending on who you ask in the world of marble sports. So, I honestly don't know, but I would like to see the marble booster.
Yeah, as addressing other points, like just as like the elevator can help marbles who are struggling a little bit to kind of catch up by forcing spacing, you could also hurt marbles. Like, so for instance, like there's 2 marbles who are really close to each other, but because of their spacing, one of them gets 1 step up above the other, which results in that marble getting at least a few seconds, about a second or a second and a half lead on the other marble, which is not really fair to them. It's like it's not because they didn't lose that lead or that distance because of their own mistakes, is because of the conveyor belt. So a launcher does fix that, but I guess the launcher is not a perfect thing, because depending on how you design it, it can still have mistakes. Like in the Racing Marbles League, for instance, and it was race 4, one of the marbles went launched up into the launcher and then just got stuck somewhere for like 3 laps, and like then they came out. So like, I guess that's probably more a fault with the design of the housing of the launcher, not the launcher itself. Yeah, and that can probably easily be avoided. But the point is like their accidents can still happen even with launchers. It's not like but I think like the launchers pros are far more I guess outweigh its like one con, really, and I think it would be beneficial for the future if a launcher was implemented. Maybe not necessarily for this season, because like it would kind of be unfair. Like, oh well, the first race was done with this, but now the other race is gonna be done with the launcher. Like, well, because that could have changed the results. So like, yeah. I think the launcher now definitely not, but for season 3, I think a launcher would be very beneficial to the overall quality of the races. It would help to avoid some more accidents like this, and it would also allow a more I guess fair racing between the marbles.
Yeah. No, I do.
Yeah, I think elevator was pretty much almost like one of the 2 deciding factors in this race. So, the first one was, of course, the banked turn, which I really thought we were going to see Marble go overboard, but thankfully we didn't. But yeah, the elevator really did made the race, because, well, as we saw, at one point Momo was very close to overtaking Yellow Eye, but one night entering into the elevator, and that's it. The whole race was over, and Yellow Eye ran away with it.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the bank turn. I just want to touch on that.
I love that. It's so good.
That was so good.
I'm gonna tell you. Well, yeah, it looks cool. That's number 1. But there's another reason why I'm a huge fan of the bank turn. Reason I'm a huge fan of the bank turn. It rewards marbles with higher speeds. It does, because if you come into a bank turn and you have a higher speed, then you're not going to just slam into the wall and then roll and just kind of like let the wall carry around. No, you go up on that curve, and so you get higher, and you go and you're able to coast with the same speed you previously had around that turn. And if you come in with a lower speed, then you're punished because that bank turn is going to kind of push you in towards the inside line, and then you're going to ram into that wall there. So I think the bank turn is really good, because faster marbles are going to have the advantage going in and out of that turn, and it doesn't like just take really fast racing and just just deaden it when it goes into that turn. I'm not saying all turns should be banked, because sometimes there's turns that might make more sense not, but definitely this turn, coming out of a long straight like that and being quite a wide turn, it makes a lot of sense for it to be banked, and it really was a great track feature to finally have that banked turn. It also does allow for
lap one when everyone goes in at the same time. That was so cool to see.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it was very cool. But another thing I want to mention real quick is bank turns allow for passing on turns, and that's something you do not see with regular turns very often, because no matter what speed you are, just because the way the marbles and the track is made, marbles are going to come into a turn that's not banked and always hit the outside line. They will not, because they can't control themselves except for gravity, they will not be able to hug the inside line most of the time if the turn is unbanked. This bank turn allows for marbles of different speeds to get different heights and different places along that bank turn, and allow for actual passing in the bank turn depending on the speeds attained. So I just think a bank turn overall, at least a couple in the right places on a track, are a very wise addition as far as making the race more sensible. And I think you saw it in this race. It was a lot of changes, not in the lead, but a lot of changes in placement throughout the race. I mean, you saw Snowy jump like 14 places, not 14, like 10 places on the race. You saw Momo jump from the back up there. You saw Green Ducks come from behind. You saw some marbles lose places because of that turn, I think. Like the Hazers didn't do so well by the end. You saw the Limers and Oceanics get up into top 5. And I think all that clear jump in positions, that clear wide jump, because if you look right now, you see Snowy's in 16th place right now. Just like the little clip I have up on the YouTube, it's paused at about couple laps in. Snowy's at 16th, C's at 10th, Lime is at 9th. I mean, oh crap, who else got high? No, actually Mallard and Momo were already up at the top at that point. But these 3 marbles I just mentioned, they get up to about top 5 or even top 2 for a second by the end of the race. And I think that's because the track features allow for more passing and allow for rewarding marbles who are faster, which is something that the lack of a bank turn, the lack of a marble booster, and a track, some way the track's design can actually punish or equalize marbles that are actually moving faster.
Yeah,
but anyway, Wof, go ahead.
It's like I said before the live reaction for the marble, the whole race started. I always stated, like, this bank turn will be the make or break point for the race for almost all the teams. This is going to be the point where either you get on the podium or your whole race is ruined.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I think that the addition of a bank turn allows for possible use of a marble booster, because I think with the marble booster, the biggest problem with the marble booster is that the marbles come out of it quite fast, because you have to have enough speed to boost any marble, no matter what speed it enters the booster, up and over through onto the track a good foot above. So, I mean, now, normally, of course, one of the ways to make sure marbles don't fly off the track after that is to make sure there's some sort of a long straight after the booster to kind of keep the marbles, and maybe like a high wall or something. But now you could throw a bank turn there, so you don't have to throw a long straight after the marble booster every time, and a bank turn would keep the marbles and kind of turn them around and not keep them from flying off. So, I mean, there's a lot of interesting features, and I think you get a marble booster in there, and you have at least 50% of your turns being bank turns, then you have a race where it's really balanced, and marbles who are fast are rewarded for being fast, marbles who are slow are punished for being slow, and that's the kind of thing you want. You want marbles who are fast to win. Okay.
Exactly.
So I mean,
yeah.
and with that, you are going to allow for a lot more changes in leads and changes in placements throughout the race, because it's not going to just be this bundle of marbles all together just moving through the flat turns. No, you're going to have lots of marbles moving at incredibly different speeds. And I think that will end up making the races better in total. Anyway, we're going to be heading to the trivia soon, but I want to...
There's one more thing I want to mention about the races, like in terms of like their camera work, actually.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Maybe, yeah, it's a quick one. Like, I noticed something like back in race 5 of Marbula E, where like they had like a camera like low to the track, like seeing the marbles rolling in at them. Maybe they have done that before, but I don't remember them doing that. And I love that shot. It looks so good, and they did it again here.
So
like,
cool! I love that.
It looks so good. I love those.
Which shot
those
were you discussing?
So it's in this race as well. It's the straight going into the bank. Like the camera is low to the like almost on level with the track, and like you can see the marbles rushing towards the camera almost.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. Okay, so like this here that I have up here.
I don't like this one as much as Marbula E because it's not as centered, but it like the effect is still there. Like you can see them like kind of like you can see kind of like the momentum. You can see them going side by side and like trying to pass each other. And it looks really cool. I like that.
Yeah, I like the different angles seen. Something I will say is that having these angles, I could see it might get tough for a commentator with all the switching. You see there's a lot of switching here, and so like they keeping track of where everyone is. But of course, JMR does a perfect job keeping it very clear in the real time updates of the position. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of camera angle switches. I have this on, for some reason I have this on 0.25 speed, but even then there was a bunch of camera switches. I mean, like you see a lot of different flicks around in the camera. You have a camera here, you got a camera there moving. I mean, you got a lot. And I think for me, a good balance is just a couple of different camera angles and then some sort of follow the leader camera that really allows for you to always be able to adjust very easily to looking at the lead marbles. So I don't know. I'm kind of here and there on the cameras. Like I like what they're doing and don't like what they're doing at the same time. But no matter. It is still a good point, and I still like that kind of marbles rushing at you sort of look to the camera. At this point, we're going to head to the trivia segment, everybody. So we're going to cover that real quick, and then when we come back, we're going to discuss the new format of the qualifiers. I want to have a couple opinions on that, and we're going to end with some of the answers to the talking point question I posted on the Reddit about what is the most positive, negative surprises of race 1 of Marbula 1. We'll see what the fans have to say about race 1. So without further ado, cue that trivia music. Is that what it sounds like? I have no idea. And let's go to the trivia segment.
Now it's time for the trivia segment. Come on now, let's go. Go.
All right, we were at the trivia segment. Music played. Still awkward for me to be in the live show and the music doesn't actually play and it doesn't only plays in post. But there you have it. Let's do it. Let's do the trivia. Wof, why don't you start us off?
All right, so I managed to come up with this one as we were doing the episode. So Razzie, in race 1 of this race for Marbula 1, from where they started and where they finished, how many places did they move, either up or down?
In this race?
Yes. Where did they start?
They started. No, I won't say. I'll let you figure.
I don't remember. Yeah. I don't remember Razzie starting high. I'm gonna say dropped 5. I mean, I feel like if they didn't drop 5, I would have noticed them. I don't remember noticing them at all, so I'm gonna say drop 5 from, I don't know, 6th. We'll say drop 5 from 6th down to 11th. That's the best I got. What do you think, Steve?
I remember they started 6th, but I have no idea. I don't think they really moved anywhere. I think they did finish 6th as well.
I'm impressed. You got it, Steve.
They finished 6th place?
Yeah, they started in 6th and they ended in 6th.
Really? I mean, I got they started in 6th, right? So you have to give me that.
Yeah, you got that. I'll give you that.
I just figured they dropped because I didn't remember noticing them. So I
mean,
it's
just a little trick question there. See if you were paying attention.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go next, actually. All right, so question submitted, wow, can I not speak, by our editor, Kason F11. He submits this question. In the Minty Mania GP, evidently that's the one we just watched. I don't know why I yelled about that, but that is. What was the biggest gain and biggest loss in placements during the first lap alone? I do not know this. It's because it's in the spoiler.
Okay, I'm gonna call Hazers as the biggest loss.
That's a very, very good answer. What about the
biggest game, biggest loss? I think
Steve.
the biggest game was
Steve,
the Momo from 11th. Oh, sorry, was I talking over you?
Gain. He didn't say the gain yet.
I'm so sorry.
Gain. I have no idea. I am going to call. I'm gonna call Midnight Wisps.
It's not a bad guess. All right, Wof, what about you?
I'm gonna say Momo because it went from 11th to 4th, so that was a gain of
Wof certainly knows that
7 places in the pretty much out the gate.
Yeah. What about the biggest loss?
Oh, biggest loss? I believe it was. I did not think about that. I was too focused on my Momo doing good. Maybe the Savage Speeders, and they dropped, I think, 5 places?
I don't remember. For me, it's definitely Momo for biggest gain. That makes a lot of sense. Biggest loss for me, I don't think it was the Savage Speeders, but it's not a bad guess. I would say, I don't know, man. I mean, that's a hard question. Biggest loss. I mean, who really suffered in the first lap? Man, I don't know. I mean, I would go Hazers. Hazers is as good an answer as any. So...
Wait, you're right. It was. I think it was the Hazers.
All right, you're changing your answer to the Hazers. All right,
yeah.
So we all have Hazers for loss.
I think Hazers had pole position, right?
Yeah, they did.
We'll see.
And then they lost it out.
Well, so y'all are wrong. Team Galactic fell 6 places in the first lap, 9th to 15th.
Wow. Well, the game was right though, right?
The gain is Momo jumps 7, 11th to 4th.
All right.
So there you have it. That was a good question, Casey. Thank you for submitting that to the podcast. You can submit your questions, comments, anything, blah, 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 blah. Submit anything you want. Okay? Email us, mswpodcast@gmail.com. Trivia questions. Okay? That's number 1. Questions for us. Opinions on anything Marble related. Opinions on anything not Marbula related. Questions for us that are or are not Marbula related. You know what I'm saying? You can do whatever you want. We want emails from you guys. It makes the show more fun. We do have an email this week, but it addresses MFA, so we're going to wait till he's on in the next half-host episode to address it. But thank you for that person who sent an email. We want you guys to send in emails. It makes the show more engaging for you guys who send in the emails and get them read. So please do so. mswpodcast@gmail.com. All right, Steve, take us away for the final trivia question.
Okay, so you pretty much stole my question about the games from about Marbula, but I'm gonna I have a little Marble League question, and that question is in which Marble League, which event we saw up until this point the last streaker from the stands?
The what?
The last streaker in Marbula 1.
The
first streaker in Marbula 1.
The first streaker in Marbula 1, I think, was back in, I don't know, random number, but I want to say race 3 from season 1.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me. I'm going to go race 4. I mean, I have no idea. That's a good question. I actually don't remember.
It was actually race 8. I think it was race 8, Razway.
Razway was
race 7. Midnight Bay was race 8.
Yeah,
it was Razway GP. That was the place where one of the most chaotic races was of all time.
Well, who was the streaker?
It was one of the streakers.
Oh, I'm remembering it now. It was an Rangers fan, I think.
Oh, it was a Rangers fan?
No.
It was based on the marble design, I think.
It looked like one of the Cat's Eyes fan, actually. I'm looking at
Oh, was it?
now.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I do remember what you're talking about now. I remember seeing
that. Cat's Eyes did they race in Marbula 1?
No, but they didn't, but they kind of looked like a fan of Crazy Cat's Eyes.
Oh, so just like a Cat's Eye looking marble. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a good question. I never even considered that. But yeah, you got to know your streakers, guys. You got to know your streakers. But yeah, thank you guys for the trivia questions today. A lot of fun as usual. So let's jump back with that trivia music, editor. Do that right now.
That was the trivia segment. Now let's head back to the show. The show. Oh.
Boom. It's starting. Okay, we're back, I think, maybe. We are back, and we're going to talk about non-trivia things now. Yay. All right, so we're going to end the show with a couple of topics. A couple I'm going to cover in equal amounts. We are about 47 minutes in, so we want to definitely get through both of these. I do. So let's start with this. We're going to kind of do, for this one, we're going to do one opinion each. So you each get one chance to talk about this, all right? And then that's it, because we don't want this to drag on for the next 15 minutes, because then we'll not be able to read the comments from the fans here on the Reddit post. So the question is, and I'll go last on this, I'll let you guys talk first. What is your opinion on the qualifiers, the new format of the qualifiers? And then
can I go first?
would you want? Well, yeah, you can go first, but let me finish the question. What would you change if you were able to change anything? And which one did you like better? The first year's one, the first season's ones, or the current one?
Okay, so I have mixed feelings about this qualifying system, because on the one hand, I like the first qualifying one bit, because where each marble goes up one by two at a time. So I think it's a great idea, but I don't like how they start the whole start second and third qualifying like a race, because I think they should do like in Formula One, like where there's a time qualifying session and they let marbles go on. Okay, like they did last year, what for third and second and third qualifying, where they let each marble go alone, do individual runs. I don't like the fact how they do a whole race and make them go bunch up. We call bunch one. Like you know what I mean, like make them go in a one big like a race.
Mm-hmm. So you don't like you don't like the non-time trials things. You like you don't like the ones where they raced for position.
Exactly. Because that's the whole point of qualifying, is right? They just set the best time, not to race other marbles.
That makes sense. I understand that. As a Formula One purist, I can understand where you're coming from. Since you watch it Formula One quite a bit. So yeah, it makes sense. Anything? So you would just want to revert back to the old way? Is there anything you'd want to add or detract from the old way?
No, I think it would be I want to keep them revert to the old way, but do it like everything like with the first qualifying, two marbles at a time on the track. That's it. I don't like how they make them whole race in the second and third qualifying.
Okay. That's an interesting take, and I think you'll find that there are more people besides Steve from Latvia, by the way, who have this opinion, because like if you're a Formula One purist, you definitely like the extra races don't really make a ton of sense. But thank you, Steve, for tashing in on that. Wof, what about you? The same large question about the qualifiers. You give your opinions and stuff.
Yeah, so I can definitely understand that, like, because like with the time trial, like that way, like that determines like who is really the fastest. Whereas like with the racing qualifying, like if you got a lower time, you were put lower, and so you're already at a disadvantage. So like your chances of qualifying higher were already pretty slim. Yep. Although it was 3 laps, right? For the first one,
like
and then
two or three. Yeah, it was 2 for the second.
So there were technically chances, but like it was. I do understand like the grievance with that, but I also like how I like how they did the 2 at a time this time. I think there was an instance where they could have ended up running into each other. It didn't happen.
Raspberry Racers almost hit Mini Maniacs. I think.
Yeah. But fortunately, that didn't happen. So, but that is a risk of it. But like, I do like how like that speeds it up. And I do like though the team racing in that it's more entertaining to watch than just the single racing. But like, I do get like the whole point of like it takes away the whole like it basically is a disadvantage to anybody who did not. Although I guess like in a way like that kind of makes sense, like, 'cause like your time trial like already like you're already gonna start in those positions anyways in the main race. So you kind of were gonna have a disadvantage to begin with. So having a disadvantage to qualify to change your position even more really doesn't actually, I guess, in a way doesn't matter too much unless of course you like lose positions. So maybe actually, I think actually it's more of I think it's actually more of a good thing, because like it gives a marble a chance to who didn't have a good who had maybe a rough time trying to set a good time and like to kind of get ahead and like maybe move up a few places on the pole position or towards the pole position.
Yeah. You guys give good thoughts. Here's my thought. I want to start my thought by saying that for me, there's a big problem with qualifiers in marble sports racing, because obviously JMR is not the only channel at this point doing marble sports racing, and there's a lot of others, and they also have qualifiers. And I find a big problem with qualifiers because for me, even as someone who loves marble sports, I do a podcast on marble sports, and qualifiers, I still have problem with them because they're not meaningful often. At least in season 1, the big problem for me was that they just weren't meaningful. Yes, they would decide the placements of the marbles. And yes, pole position versus starting in 16th does have a kind of important difference, but it just was like an equal length video as the race, where it's just time trials where we're just going to place the marbles at the start of the race. And then if the race is like 23 laps, they pretty much, especially in a course like the Mini Mania GP, where you saw huge jumps in placements over the course of the race, they're going to jump placements anyway. I mean, it just seems like it seems not meaningful enough to spend a whole video on it. So 2 things I like that the new qualifiers did better. I do like the new qualifiers better. The first thing I like is that they made it more meaningful because there's 20 teams and not all teams will qualify. Okay, so you still feel like you want to watch the qualifiers because you're going to start with 20 teams, you watch the qualifiers, and by the end of the video, you only have 16. So that's a positive thing. You're already making it meaningful because people are going to tune in the video to see if their team makes it to the real race. That's number 1. The other good thing they did is that even though it's not pure to Formula 1 to have those extra races, it did kind of bring the excitement of racing into the qualifying video, which is nice. I mean, I think that depending on who you are and how Formula 1 purist you are and how you enjoyed last year's Marbula 1 you are, I mean, you may actually really enjoy the race aspect in the qualifiers. For me, I liked it. It added a little bit more, but there were definitely some problems that still need fixing. The problem for me is that if you're having a race, if you're spending like 5-10 minutes in a video where you're only deciding placements, you're not eliminating anyone, you're not giving out any points, then it can get meaningless. Even if it's 2 laps of racing, it's 2 laps of meaningless racing. As Wof said, we're having this whole race, and marbles who are already in a good position might drop position, so it's just kind of almost stupid. But it's a It's still, to me, this qualifier is a little bit more interesting than the previous one. Another thing they did good, of course, was having the 2 marbles go out at a similar time, just so, like, you know, because there's still time trials for those 2, but it gives the opportunity for the time in qualifying to get done much quicker, because you're looking at 2 marbles, they finish, and then the next 2 are already going, and it's by 2, so you're cutting the time in half, and there's more to look at. So that's very smart to me, because it gets it done quicker. Here's how I would do it. If I was the guy who was like, okay, you're in charge of making the qualifiers, however you say it's going to goes. This is what I think would be the best qualifiers. 2 options here for you. And I would actually like people to give their opinions on this. So maybe email in at mswpodcast@gmail.com. And I will ask Wof and Steve when I'm finished here for them to give a quick opinion, and then we'll move on to the last segment. But this is how I would want to see it. 2 options. First option, time trials. Okay? Time trials, normal time trials, that's it for the video. You go 1 at a time, maybe 2 at a time. If you're just going to do time trials for the video, you go 1 at a time. Except there's 2 things. First of all, the bottom 4 are eliminated, so it makes the time trials more important because you might lose 4 marbles. And the top 5 get points. Okay, if you're in the top 5, you get 1 point. If you get pole position, you get a bonus point, or something. Maybe 1 point's too little. Depending on how they give out points in Marbula 1, maybe be 2. But
I think 1 is a good number.
One. Just and the only reason I say that is because we want to make it meaningful. We want people to tune in the qualifiers and say, okay, I'm going to sit here for 10 minutes because I know at the end there's going to be 4 teams who are not going to advance, and there's going to be 5 teams who are going to have points. And that's meaningful. When you give out points is 1 point or 2 points, but that means something because that's 1 or 2 points that may make or break over the course of the season. And so I think even a small points value like that is going to be is going to change the game for how meaningful the qualifiers are. I mean, the elimination thing already adds a lot of excitement, but I think you can really round it off, and you can keep it pure to the Formula One, and you can keep everyone interested because you're giving out points. So that is one option. The other option is the same thing, but the time trials are done as they were in this one, where there's 2 at a time to go quickly, eliminate the bottom 4, and then have one race with the remaining 16, where you put them in the race, you have them do about 5 laps, and the positions they finish in that is the positions they start in the next race, and you give out points for the top 5, 1 for the top 5, a bonus point for the pole position. Because honestly, I think even giving out that small amount of points, you're making it a meaningful race, a meaningful video worth watching that can change the outcome of the season. Because in my opinion, besides the elimination of the 4 teams, the qualifiers is almost meaningless, because it does not, besides positions shifting, which then proceed to do so a million times throughout the race, especially if it's a longer race like the first one. It's not, is it really worth the 10 minutes sitting down to watch? So I mean, the final thing to say is I think this qualifiers is better, and I'm pulled in at this point. I'm interested enough in the qualifiers and the eliminations that I'm going to want to watch it every week. But I think the most, like I said, the 2 ideas I just gave, and I want to get your opinions, those to me are the best ideas. The best ideas to make the qualifiers a meaningful experience where you can't miss the qualifiers as much as you can't miss the race if you're tuning into Marbula 1. Steve, I want your thoughts on this real quick. Wof, then you, and then we're going to go to our final segment of the episode.
I mean, yeah, I think your idea about time trials it's a very good idea, because each time each marble goes one by one or two at the same time, and I think it's a really good idea. How to build up tensions, to keep suspense going, and I think the idea for the first 5 top 5 marbles, extra points, that is a great idea, because, well, those points could easily, decide a championship at the very end. Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. Trial idea is a very good idea.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's very similar to how the qualifying in NASMARB, actually, where marbles are eliminated, and the marbles who perform the best, there's I think it's 2 or 3 bonus points that you can get from qualifying. Like one for best best time in the right lane, best time in the left lane for qualifying. Mm-hmm. So it's there is an action. I think also for best average time. So I think the pole winner, or for C actually in this instance, gets a bonus point. So and that makes it more fun. So I do think you're honestly have points be awarded as well, to kind of up the excitement.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys enjoying those ideas. There are 2 possible ways to go with that, like I said, and I think that, I mean, Mel actually reached, this is how I got such a big answer on this, because Mel reached out to me and asked me what I thought about the qualifiers, and I thought about it, and that's what I came up with, and he liked it. I mean, he liked the idea. I mean, making a change like that, maybe everyone's gonna have a different take, but maybe it's something that will change. So if you see a change in the next season that the qualifiers give out points for the top 5, where at least some of it started. I'm sure there might have been other people with the idea as well, but I did give him that idea. He asked me, and I definitely gave him a clear answer, and positives and negatives. I mean, I'm going to be honest about what I think. I think honesty is the best way to get better. So we're going to end with a quick segment. This segment's going to just mostly just to highlight the people who answered the question here. I asked a question: what were the positive and negative surprises of race 1 of Marbula 1 for you? Comment below. And I said, for me, of course, Yellow Eye staying in front the whole time, and we will talk about Yellow Eye as the season goes on. I will probably scream about him doing bad or doing good in a future episode. And I also said a surprise for me, of course, was a lot of the lesser-known teams getting into the top 5 for a moment: Bumblebees, Limers, Oceanics, and of course the Speedy situation. But we're going to see what other people say, because other people answered here, and we'll highlight them, give them a moment in the spotlight for the end of the episode here. So of course, Drew Drinks, he said that Speedy crashing was a big surprise for him and a bad one, and then Waspy being married 2.0, which I believe Waspy finished, bad finish for Waspy. I'm going to actually check the standings on that.
You clicked on the, did Waspy even qualify?
No, I don't know. I think he was in the race.
He was very
man,
last.
these advertisements are ridiculous these days on YouTube.
You were already on the video. Why did you go back?
No. It was on the next video. Okay, Midnight Wisps did the worst, and they were like plus 15.
Oh, Wasp! I was thinking of the Hornets.
Oh no.
Because Wasp,
Midnight. Yeah. I get you. But yeah, so that's also a difficult thing. So then we have Jared the Man 05, a Momo fan, said Momo, who started in P11, managed to get to P4 in the first turn. That was a surprise. Mm-hmm. Not only that, Momo managed to maintain P2 throughout most of the race, even after the red flag challenged Yellow Eye for P1. Impressively,
actually,
sets up
he
the
did
fastest lap
overtake
time.
him, but the problem is it was after the red flag, so it didn't count.
Oh yeah,
that is true.
Oh, it's true. Timo isn't the fastest of marbles, so this comes as a big surprise, and I agree with that. That was the biggest surprise for me. Yeah. I didn't even mention that in my answer. But Momo is not a fast marble. Okay, that's just a fact. I don't have to prove anything. I mean, they're okay. That is a fact.
They finished middle of the pack mostly.
Yeah, but they're not a fast team. So, I mean, it shows maybe how this different type of track that we get when we have a bank turn, how much of a difference that might make. So definitely keep that in mind. Okay, we have HPAT. We have saying Snowballs had a fantastic comeback, last to 5th, if I remember right. You do remember right, HPAT. And that's exactly what happened, and I'm a huge fan of the Snowballs this year. And I think that, and like I said before, any team where the marble has the skill to go from last place to 5th place in the second half of a race is this team that you're going to have to look out for. I mean, they're not a pushover out there on the track, so definitely eyes out for them. That's a good answer.
Cool.
We have Big Future.
Snowballs.
Yeah, Snowballs. They went from 16th place at one point all the way up to 5th by the end of the race.
I have to admit, I really underestimated them. I'll keep my eye on them as well.
Yeah, we'll see. Luckily, I didn't have to give you $10, but I almost did. So, okay. So, Big Future says Yellow Eye is a story, of course, with the exception of during the red flag incident. It was pure dominance, start to finish. Looking forward to more crazy cat's eye victories this year. I think you may see a lot of crazy cat's eye victories this year. I don't know if you'll see, more than 2 or 3, but I mean, they could be a front runner this year. We'll see. All right, Dino Kia says, things I noticed, Prim struggling. Well, that's always happening. Waspy with just no heart in it after the conveyor belt, aside from an early person lap 7. Yeah, they struggled a lot. That's true, and they were really bad at the end. Though we'll see how they do in the next races. Impossible to tell whether or not Momo would have won if not for the incident. Probably not. I don't think so. I mean, Yellow Eye was just fast the whole time, and there was a lot of laps left, so you couldn't really roll the dice on that and like make a definitive answer.
I mean, they did challenge them before.
Yeah, but like they never really overtook. So I mean, if you're gonna make an argument that like the thing happening in lap 5 affects by lap 23, I mean, like it would have balanced itself out either way. Bumble super consistent. Yeah, they were consistent. Mallard versus Momo with a dramatic battle. Yeah, I agree. Lime super inconsistency. Well, he did get up to top 5. Snowballs make a great comeback. Yes, indeed. Smoggy struggles bad. Yes, Smoggy was not good in this race. So that is quite a surprise, especially since they were 2nd overall in the last season. All right, so that was Dino Kia. Okay, we have American and word I'm not going to say.
Oh my gosh.
I guess if you really want to see it, it's on the YouTube, but I'm not going to say the word. After a brutal medalist Marble League was finally nice to see Mallard come back strong and hold on for bronze in the first race. Yes, it was. Yes. Green Ducks are not a pushover team.
I am glad they got that third place because they had a very disappointing Marble League season, and I'm really glad to see them back on podium.
No, yeah, I mean, like I said, and I said this in my comment back. Any team in their rookie year that's going to come out into the Marble League and get 2nd place overall is a team that you're going to have to look out for at all times. They're not always going to be good, but I mean, they're going to be good sometimes, and they're always going to be a competitive team who's going to be fighting to win. So definitely a surprise, but also like something that you like to see. You like to see the Green Ducks.
Yeah,
they
are my 2nd favorite team because I just love Green Ducks.
No, yeah, they're one of my top 5. They don't fit into the top 3 that I have, but they kind of round out the top 5 of teams for me. I like them a lot. Yeah, seems like the Ducks did a lot of training and soul searching to put themselves in position to succeed in Marbula 1. I agree. We'll see how they do. All right, couple more answers. Muka Sector 2 says, looking how dominant the LOI was. If they can keep this up, CCE might be in with a real shout of claiming the title here. It's early days, but still. Also, I just want to make a point about CCE in general. They finished 5th in the ML and are already qualified for next year via hosting and have the ability to put performances like that down every so often. They're a real they're the real up-and-comers in the Marble Sports world, I'll tell you. So don't be surprised if a championship of sorts heads their way in the near future. I agree with you. I think the CCE, they're a veteran team. They've been here a long time, but they are a team that continues to slowly improve every year, and they are relatively consistent in their space. I mean, they're not always at top, but they're good.
Have proven that they are the black horses of any tournament they take part in. They are the dark horses.
Yeah. They always seem to be at least on the fringe of being near the top 3. They don't always get there, but they're never to be counted out.
No, absolutely not.
All right, and then the last one here by Adam Scott D. He said, from a production perspective, the new graphics look really clean, although they could be a little harder to read sometimes. The backdrop is outstanding. I would say there are too many camera cuts. I agree. The track design was a meh for me. It was actually pretty good. Tracks like Short Circuit work because they were quick and exciting with lots of lead changes. Minty Mania felt like Short Circuit without any action. Wow. The bank turn didn't really provide much. What? Okay,
What?
I will say this.
Adam, what are you on, buddy?
I agree with the first half of your paragraph. Graphics look clean. They can be hard to read sometimes. Yeah, the backdrop is outstanding. There were too many camera cuts. The track design was not the most interesting one we've ever seen. But I will say, for me, I feel like there was an increase in the amount of not lead changes necessarily, but changes within the positions and just overall excitement and speed to the race because of the bank turn. Obviously, we need to see more bank turn tracks to make a final decision on that, but I think that maybe I would say to you, just give the bank turn another chance. Give it another opportunity in another course before you make a decision on it. Overall, I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with the bank turn thing, but I do agree with the other things.
Well, here's what I have to say for graphics. I think the graphics look really, really good this season, and also I really hope they customize for every single race that takes place. Like, for Minty Mania, they have minty green, and for orange they can have orange, and so. Yeah. I really do hope they customize it as well.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's gonna do it for today's episode. We covered all the Reddit answers. I think I'm gonna be trying to do this weekly. I'll always try to put like some sort of question in after the race on Sunday to get like some people to answer, and so we have a few things to read opinions wise from fans out there. At least fans of Marbula 1. I don't know if they all listen to the show. But yeah, I'm gonna do that, and now that I can be back on the Reddit, and I think that. Yeah, there's so much to talk about today. I think it's just going to be exciting to see where it goes in the future weeks when we start to really see the teams, the front-running teams develop and see the new features added track-wise. We'll see them develop, so I'm super excited for that. But without further ado, Steve, thanks for coming on yet again. You've come on twice for us, and it's always nice to have you on to talk marbles. Me and Steve talk marbles sometimes as a live reaction to the races, and it's always a lot of fun.
It's always a pleasure to come on this podcast. I really enjoy my time here.
We enjoy having you.
Yeah, we really enjoy having you. You have a lot of high-level marble thoughts, I have to be honest. You know what you're talking about. You know, marble sports connoisseur, a future marble sports connoisseur.
Sports since 2017, so I do have some experience.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do.
Indeed.
But anyway, guys, that's going to end the episode for good. So, Wof, why don't you take us out with what you usually say, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Just want to get a quick preamble because I didn't think we'd go this long. If the song coming up, please use headphones. I've recently found out that the speaker quality really can affect how a song sounds, and because I'm such a mediocre singer, it really hurts it. I tested this on several different speakers, my laptop, my car. If you want to actually have a hope of enjoying this, use headphones, or if you don't have headphones, use earbuds. I'm sorry. All right, so just got that out of the quick. All right, with that, here's Ultimate Battle. Roll on, Marble sports fans. Time to end this. Gun. I cannot miss. Yan in this ultimate battle. I'll never stop no matter what the world may say. What ensures a victory upon a desperate man? My power is growing now, can you see just how much I have? Power rising, magnetizing. Come on, can you hear me now? Not even the God can win now. Time to end this. Gun. I cannot miss. Yan in this ultimate battle. I can feel it. Gun. Soon you'll see it. Yan. Watch the world ignite with power. I'll never stop no matter what the world may say. My ultra instinct will fuel me and guide the way. To the sky will break away as I finish up this fight. What will come from ashes when I show the universe my might? One hit, one kill, maximum will. Soon the battle will be done, but it will not end till I've won. Time to end this. Gun. I cannot miss. Yan in this ultimate battle. Make no mistake. Yan for the world's sake. Yan. I will take a hold of my fate. When the spirit bomb in my hand reaches its peak, the light it brings will go for all eternity. Rise and face me, none can take me. Let me show you who I am in this universe where I stand. I can feel it. 10. Soon you'll see it. Yan. Watch the world ignite with power. Time to end this. Gun. I cannot miss. Yan in this ultimate battle. There's no mistake. Yan for the world's sake. Yan. I will take a hold of my fate. I'll never stop no matter what the world may say. My ultra instinct will fuel me and guide the way.